Councillors, staff, members of the gallery, welcome to the meeting of the Council of the City of Prospect for Tuesday the 28th of April. I'd now like to read you the acknowledgement of the Kaurna people that this land we meet on today is a traditional land for the Kaurna people, and we respect their spiritual relationship with their country. We also acknowledge the Kaurna people as the custodians of the Adelaide region, and their cultural beliefs are still as important to the living Kaurna people today. And read you the council prayer. We humbly bow before thy throne of mercy, O God, our Heavenly Father, seek wisdom and understanding as we face the duties of our united task, praying for the welfare of our city and the peace and prosperity of our land. In the name of Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. Please be seated. And do we have any declarations by any members of the conflicts of interest tonight related to any of the agenda items? Councillor Bone.
I'm a member of the Prospect Local History Club, so regarding the petition for the air raid shelter 7.1.
Yes, so, sorry, Governance Manager, just to be fair and interest, that's all. Yeah, there's no pecuniary benefit unless they've suddenly started paying members a financial fee for turning up. If they have, let me know. I want to come. Thank you. Any other declarations by members? Okay, we'll move on. On leave, we have Councillor Barnett, and apologies from Councillor Larwood and Councillor Mark Root. The Deputy Mayor is either just landed or on his way back from the state, so he will be here. There's an apology for the first part of the meeting. We'll have someone confirm the minutes of the ordinary meeting of Council for Tuesday the 24th of March. Councillor Bowman, speak to it at all? Right, seconder, Councillor Stan, you to speak to it.
Fine, thank you.
Okay. In favour? Yes, carried. And the Mayor's report you'll see before you there on page 793. And I need to take a couple of things out of this. Let me find this. Attended the Gawler Street and Ann Street Moving Minds tour. That needs to come out of the report. I did attend it, and they loved Prospect Village Heart, so I didn't do it in my capacity as Mayor, so it's not fair to leave it on there. I'm very impressed, I have to say. And attended Father Timothy Radcliffe's public breakfast, which I did in my capacity as a member of the Blackfriars Board, again not as Council Mayor, so just for clarity, I can just ask someone to move the report without those two items in it. I'd be very grateful. Thank you, Councillor Lee. Wish to speak to it? I'd seconder. Councillor Evans, wish to speak to it? Any further comments, questions? All those in favour? Yes, it's carried. Petitions, we have one from the Prospect regarding the Prospect Air Raid Shelter, recommendations on page 795. The petition is available on request. Sorry, we were hoping to have a hard copy here for you to have a look at, but we have received it. Sorry, I've missed an item, have I? I have two. Okay, sorry, I'll come back to the petition now. Come back to that. Sorry, on the petition. So it is available, have received it. We normally ask the petitioner if they wish to address Council. Do they wish to address Council tonight? No? Okay. I think they came and addressed the workshop the other day, so we'll take it as read that that's the case. Does anybody wish to move that we note the letter and petitions from the history group? Councillor Bowman, do you wish to speak to it at all? No. Do you have a seconder? Councillor Harris, do you wish to speak to it?
No, thank you.
No further debate? All those in favour? Against it is carried. Thank you. Sorry, I did skip over, unfortunately, the verbal reports from Council representatives on local government or community organisations. Are there any verbal reports tonight? People on those bodies? No? Okay. That's why I missed it. At deputations, we have nil motions on notice. We have one notice of motion from Councillor Evans regarding street tree planting program, and moving that, Councillor Evans, if you could stand and read out your motion to us as per our meeting procedures.
Certainly, Mayor. Council immediately commenced the planting of 33 street trees, which form the backlog of Council's street tree planting program to be completed by 30 June 2015. A budget variance of $13,500 sufficient to cover planting of 33 street trees be included in Budget Review 4.
Thank you. Do you wish to speak to the motion at all?
I'll just make a couple of brief remarks, and that is we did workshop the issue. It is consistent with the subject matter we were talking about. There appears to be a small backlog that has arisen of street tree planting. This is mainly due to additional street trees that need to be planted in some areas, and also refers to the backlog of some where trees have died outside the normal tree planting program. That means that for us to be able to move forward in a reasonably rapid way in delivering what I consider to be a good and core service to council, being the planting of street trees when they're needed, this motion is to effect that change. It's $13,500. I'd point to elected members that so far our budget reviews have been favourable, that this item wouldn't necessarily deter from our overall financial position of any great amount, and will be an important measure in terms of supporting residents and what they would consider to be valuable from the feedback that I've received, being street trees is one of the key things they care about. So on that basis, I would urge you to support the motion.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Councillor Harris.
Yes, I'm not going to add much. It's all pretty well been said, but I do want to point out that I think trees are a very, very valuable part of our city, and these 33 will make a vast difference, but hopefully when we later study, say, the tree policy and things like that, we'll try and do some other things as well. So I think this is a good step, an important step to return some of our trees to the city.
Thank you. Any further debate? Councillor Lee.
I would also support the motion. There's no reason not to, really. Just a word of caution, though. There are many things that we need to address across the city, and it just does concern me a little bit that, we're putting up the budget variation to replace and replant some trees very quickly towards the end of the budget cycle. I just don't want a precedent set. I would hate for us to have to come back and do budget variations every single year because something needs to be addressed. So just a word of caution, and perhaps any money that is saved out of this, I'm not sure how far the $13,500 will go, but it goes back into general revenue and come back as a budget variation in a positive light.
Thank you. Any further debate? Just from the chair, I have had a chat with the staff about this item, and I think what Councillor Evans has rightfully reported is a deficiency in our service standard. We don't have a service standard about how quickly a dead tree will be detected. The detection of death for the tree is not sometimes very easy until it's completely dead. And secondly, about how quickly it gets replaced. I think that's the key here. This is what we're trying to do here is put a band-aid on a problem. What we really should do is direct the staff as to how we want these issues dealt with on a more consistent basis, so we don't build up a backlog. They have undertaken that when we look at the 21st Century Street Tree Manual, that this will be part of the suite of issues that we discuss in terms of how we look after and replace that asset base of 12,000 trees that we have across the city, and make sure we do it in an organised and orderly fashion, so the residents know when they call up what the expectation is. If we decide they don't get a new tree for 2 years, then the staff are able to say that's council's policy. But at the moment, there's not really a policy, so it tends to drift a little more than we like. So I commend the motion to get the backlog sorted, and also encourage the staff to bring that issue to us at the earliest opportunity. Thank you. Any further debate on this item? That concludes debate, unless Councillor Evans wishes to sum up.
No thanks.
Okay. All those in favour? Against? It is carried. The questions with notice there are nil. Any questions without notice? No? Good. Move on to the protocol, which says that we'll move items on block from which to be withdrawn for questions and comments. So I've just noticed that there is a 13.1 on my little summary here, which doesn't exist, does it? Thank you very much, Jazz. You're confused there. Item 14.1 I'll withdraw as I always do, and item 14.2, ditto, for you to ask questions of the staff in case you have any. Item 19.1, does anybody, we have to withdraw that, you make a choice. Third budget reviews, anybody wish to withdraw that? No, we've discussed that. Declare Wilkie Lane a public road. We need to pull it out because there's a choice in the motions there. Sorry, that's pretty confused. No, it's not. It's pretty straightforward. Does anybody wish to pull out declaring Wilkie Lane a public road? It's pretty straightforward to me. 19.4, the delegation update. Does anybody wish to pull it out? Cross T's, check, I's are dotted, talk about it. Oh, no? Sorry. Very important document. I shouldn't make light of it, but it's very hard to read. 19.5, the Local Government Association Ordinary General Meeting. We need to pull it out to discuss voting preferences. 19.6, concessions on council rate, petition report. Does anybody wish to withdraw that item? No, okay, that's in the case. Can I have someone move on block item 19.2, 19.3, 19.4 and 19.6? Councillor Harris. Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Lee. All those in favour? Against? They are all carried. Thank you. So to item 14.1, the information report. As said, I've withdrawn it for questions and also to highlight the particular issues that we wanted to draw to your attention. And in terms of, I'll go through it in page numbers. Page 813 is the first of the items that I wish to draw your attention to. And it's an embarrassment of riches. And that is, we had 140 people registered to volunteer at the council, and we couldn't find things to do for 123 of them. And I think, number one, that's an extraordinary, generous response from our community. Secondly, how disappointing is it that we couldn't find somewhere to plug them in. I understand from the staff that what once was simple is no longer simple, and I've encouraged them on your behalf to search for simplicity and satisfaction, and they're on a pathway to try and do that. But just to note for your benefit that we've got an explosion in goodwill in terms of people wanting to help out, and I think that's a tremendous reflection on the sort of city that we as a collective run with the CEO and the staff's help. And also, I suspect it is a trend in terms of the number of people who will retire over the next few years in terms of an age bracket, who will retire with really good skills, who don't want to sit around singing Kumbaya, and who want to be useful. And I think increasingly we'll get people come to us with really great skills seeking to be of use to their community. So we've got to get better at it, because I think it's just such a great offer. Page 814. Some feedback there from a hub user. That's the second one I've seen in a matter of a week. Really great feedback. It has had a profound effect on people's interaction with technology and the internet, our hub. It's a much loved space. The other one I had was someone begging and pleading that we keep it going. So we assured them that our draft budget will do exactly that if it gets approved. Page 801.
Unley as well.
Say again, sorry?
Is that a local person or from Unley as well?
They were a local person, yeah. It does have a broad attraction. 832, the development applications, and the staff have asked me to point this out, and I agree, it's quite extraordinary what's happened over the last few months with the developments along Churchill Road that are being proposed and going through our application process. The number of developments of scale has increased, and you can see them listed there on page 832. And the value of them has also jumped quite significantly from 9 million equivalent period, previous period, to 16 million. So quite a 50% increase in value. So that's exactly what we wanted when we set out to do our rezoning on corridors. We wanted high value, high quality developments, and that is what's happening. And I think that's a testament to the success of the previous council in getting that zoning process really thoughtfully done, getting through, and now starting to see the dividends. I understand from tonight what I was saying, that the one on Churchill Road, they are organising an opening event for I think the 8th of May, yet to confirm. That's how close that one is to occupancy. On page 840, This is the start of the infrastructure report, which I think you'll agree is a terrific report. Lots of photos and some great work that's been done lately. Thank you, Greg and the team. And also an opportunity for me to highlight that I was at the Local Government Professionals Awards night the other day. And Greg, you had something to show us somewhere? It's in the cabinet already. It's gone straight to the pool room. Greg and his team won a major award there for the sustainable management of infrastructure and assets. It's a peak award in that category, so I thought you'd like to know that the work that Greg and his team are doing on our behalf is not just fabulous, it's been recognised by his peers, professionals in the local government sector, as being award-winning, and he knocked off some pretty stiff competition to win it. So I'd just like you to join me in congratulating Greg and the team. I was going to show us the award tonight, but it's gone, as I said, to the pool room straight away, so you have to show us. Get it out over again. Thank you, Greg. And within that report, 846, to notice the improvements to Ernst Scott's reserve, which had been looking really, really tired and the ordinary, and it's on its way looking much better with a new shelter in place. I think as part of our draft budget, a lot more effort can go into that park and many others, so it's just a start. So they're the things I wanted to highlight. Does anybody else have anything they wish to highlight or a question to ask of the staff about the report? Councillor Bowen.
Again, just congratulations on some good work. I see there's a lot of expiation notices going out. Fantastic. Page 843, just in regards to community consultation. So a number of residents have contacted me over the last couple of months, and it tends to be around the area of community consultation. And if you note further down on the page, regarding Pulsford Road, and it's not, I'll put it out there, it is the road I live on, but that's not why I'm drawing it to your attention. The response rate on a couple of the surveys that we've put out recently has been quite low, and it is noted in the report that in that particular street there's a lot of people that maybe speak English as a second language or migrant families, and I'm just wondering to the relevant director of their communications or asset management how we're changing our community consultation policy or methods to better interact with our residents.
That question, who wants to answer?
Yeah, through the Mayor, we haven't changed our strategy as yet. It's the same correspondence that goes out, but we will consider it in light of what's been presented here in this report tonight.
Thank you. Any further questions? Right, that being the case, happy to take a mover to note the information report. If you wish to move it, Councillor Harris, wish to speak to it.
No, thank you.
Seconder, Councillor Evans, wish to speak to it.
Just very briefly, and just to make one remark on page 849, that at Matthews Reserve a new water fountain has been installed, and that's a very good thing. A couple of residents during the campaign were on to me about getting a water fountain in that reserve, and it's a wonderful thing that now we have one. So congratulations to the team on a good effort, and look forward to seconding the information reports.
It's now called the Honorary T. Spike's on its way.
It's very good looking.
Any further debate? That concludes the debate. All those in favour? Against is carried. Thank you. Similarly, with the status report on the capital projects and operating projects, we went through these at a high level with the CEO Performance Review panel meeting the other night, and noted that some things won't be achieved for this year, but those are small in number, and generally the CEO assures us that we're on track for a 95% completion by value and number of projects. But are there any specifically that you wish to ask a question about tonight? No? That being the case, someone happy to move the report? Councillor Lee, wish to speak to it? I'll second it. Councillor Standard, wish to speak to it?
Thank you.
Okay, all those in favour? Against is carried. Next item is 19.1, which is to reinstate membership for the Murray-Darling Basin Authority on page 886. So in this item we have, as I understand it, fill up, 2 alternatives in terms of the recommendations. So I'm not sure, staff, if you want to introduce this item at all. Who's in charge of this one, and just explain why there are 2 alternatives?
Through the Mayor, it really is putting it to Council to say whether we become a subscriber to this association or not, quite simply.
Okay, so the choice is in our hands. What can happen here is someone jumps in quickly and moves one, and we go through a process and try and beat it down or work it up. I'm happy to do it that way if you want. Councillor Harris?
I'd be, sorry, I'd be quite happy. Get up in the session.
You stand. Sorry, can't stand.
No, it's all right. I'll be right in a second. I want to actually move that we join it.
Right. So you're going to move option 1.
Do I speak about it or?
Yes, please.
Okay, I don't want to take a million times to go through it, and the bit I know because I've been associated with it before, and that the main only 2 points. The main 2 points I'm looking at is 1.7 and 1.8, and when they're in those sort of points, what has happened over a period of time, particularly when I was here before and we were on it, we were suffering from drought, and we had long droughts and long sort of problems. The situation, it's basically the Murray-Darling Association, fits around the Murray-Darling River system, which is the Darling, Murray and the Murray Bridges. And that affects everyone in South Australia, particularly Port Pirie, Whyalla, Port Augusta, Cooper Pedy, Clare, us, every metropolitan. Right now we've got water flowing, we've got a desal plant, so some people start to forget these things and the drought can come back. I think it's an important thing for South Australia and for Prospect. And that's why point 1.7 and 1.8 is, whilst it's understood to provide benefits to South Australia in regard to Murray-Darling, the question is if funding organisation should be the responsibility of the City of Prospect, ratepayers any more than any other organisation or thing. Well, it affects us in the City of Prospect. That's where our water comes from, and that's where, if we have, particularly we have drought situations or whatever, I pointed out to, behind me, the nice looking one at the end, when we talked about over Easter, we had sort of 3 pipes, well there's a few of them there, but 3 of the pipes burst over our side, the other side of Main North Road, so water comes a big concern. If Matt was here, he would have talked about the rain and some of the drains that we have. Now that's the water leaving us, but if we can do things with water leaving, we can help people further upstream. So I do that. The point we put here is the Council Administration's view that under current pressures, the 1,100 for the MDA membership could be better used elsewhere for infrastructure or service delivery that directly benefits the City of Prospect. Well, I think there's large sides of this next budget that we're looking at, that is finalising that, looking at, and we're looking at a lot of benefits through technology, looking at small business people and helping all those sort of people, which I'm not opposed to, but I think this concerns everyone, because there wouldn't be many people in Prospect that don't drink water or don't wash with it. So that's all, and if I don't get a second, it's such as life.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Lee, you indicating you should second it?
No, I just have a question. So I'm just curious as to where this 1,100 will come from. With the budget variation for this year, is it, does it become part of the budget bid, or does it come out of a budget that I not previously?
So I think the motion indicates we'll start from 1st of July 2015, so it's next year's budget. And then we'll have to return to the budget discussions, is my understanding, CEO?
Yeah. The budget bid. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. So do I have a second? Sorry. Oh, sorry, just to clarify, yeah, if this is successful, it won't be a budget bid, it'll be in the budget. It doesn't refer it to a budget discussion. This motion, the effect of Councillor Harris's motion is that it simply become an expenditure item for next year. Councillor Bowman, happy to second it?
Second it, can I speak to it?
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, I'd like to concur with what Councillor Harris has just said. And if you notice 1.6, a lot of other metropolitan councils are a part of it. But it's not just that. I think it's not that it's $1,100, it's how we best capitalising on that membership. And sometimes I think we have to really look at our membership and how we best utilising those memberships for our residents. And I think this should tie into sort of education programs around environmental awareness. And that's certainly something I'd like to see highlighted a bit more in some of our service standards. So I fully support the membership.
Thank you. Just from the chair, that probably raises a question I've got. Have the Murray-Darling Association, do they have education resources that we can tap into? We haven't. Do they have things that we can use, put in their magazines and the like?
Now I believe they do. Some of them have been listed in this report, so it's something that we could duplicate in our magazines or our website if we choose to.
Yeah, okay. Yep. Right. Satisfies my question. Any further debate? If not, that concludes the debate. And I just return to you, Councillor Harris, if you wish to sum up.
Just very, very quickly, particularly because of that last question, the things that actually come to my mind, particularly prior to the drought, one of the benefits to Prospect and a lot of other places is the people that were on it from, in those days, Salisbury Council and Elizabeth, but now Clayton, whatever, that were part of it. All that wetlands that we see to our north, it does affect us, because it's where our water runs away down to the Barker outlet and the bird life and the trees, etc., etc. The ideas came out of the Murray-Darling Association. It came from people that took an active role learning and listening from people up the river and things. The literature that the director sort of talked about that we have or can have from it becomes very important. See, right now, I think it's raining outside at the moment. We got rain, it might not be that big concern. But particularly when we had the drought, it was ideas that came from them through these various councils, and country councils in particular. It was showed us how to do the watering of the lawn, or the street watering and clearing these things. So I see it in a long term, maybe not a big one, but a long term it's a benefit for our city.
Okay, thank you. That concludes the debate. All those in favour? Against? It's carried.
4.5.
Slow movement, but I
Yeah, that's all right.
count it as a yes. Okay, the next item that has already been dealt with is 19.5, the Local Government Association Ordinary General Meeting on the 1st of May. Voting preferences. Shame that Deputy Mayor here. Well, we can't because the next item is confidential. Do you have any indication from him?
Earlier on he was at the airport.
Back on the planet.
I think Canberra actually. I'll try and get.
I've got a question if we...
Oh, happy to take a brief question and I'll give you a very long answer.
Okay. Just a question on page 1034, and it's got to do with item 8.6 around the suppression of candidates. Just wanting to know some of the background there. So we're not going to support this motion from the City of Tea Tree Gully. Not that I have a huge opinion that it should be supported, other than just to say that I guess as we've all gone through the candidacy process ourselves, the issue we have is that we're disclosing our residential addresses. And potentially that's something different to a lot of other situations where you run for office, and that you can disclose a party location, or you can disclose an office that is not necessarily your residential home. When you run for local government, you are putting on public record your local home, and particularly if you're an unpopular candidate, there can be all sorts of bad things happening in your home as a result of that being public knowledge. Again, not that I have a strong opinion on it, but just wondering what our rationale was behind not supporting it.
Yeah, quite, and you raise an interesting point, but the point you raise is different to what this is seeking to do. There is a feeling, here he is, thank you, Deputy Mayor.
There goes that question.
We just can't do more than cut yet. Yes, we're proudly going to be a member of the Murray-Darling Association Deputy Mayor. You'd be very happy.
They put it off.
Very happy to know the unanimous support it got, Deputy Mayor.
Unanimous non-support last time.
So your comments were? Anyway, we'll move on.
Irrelevant.
We're just discussing the Local Government Association Ordinary General Meeting. I might take a little bit of steam meeting proceedings, because I feel there's going to be a discussion. And with your indulgence to suspend them until 8 o'clock. All those in favour? Against, that doesn't suspend it. A question came from
Page what?
Sorry, 1034.
Oh, yeah, right. Thank you. Super. Sorry. 1034, it's regarding the motion from City of Tickery Gully to talk about addresses of candidates. And what Taz was asking was we should be cautious because sometimes you might want to suppress your address to avoid people perhaps taking you down in your dwelling or your family or your cat or something. This motion is not about that. That is an item that's been discussed by others, I think in other houses actually, about whether that's appropriate or not. In fact, I think by some senior staff, because staff also have to fill out a register and has addresses on it, so they're publicly available. This item seeks to force every candidate to put their home address in the public arena, so that candidates, so the public knows whether the candidate lives in the city or doesn't live in the city. So it's not about suppression, it is in fact the opposite. It is in fact about full disclosure of your residential address. The purpose of this is so that candidates who say that they love their city because they live in it can attack those who don't appear to live in it and claim that they are somehow lesser candidates. What you see here in terms of voting intention is my view, and I bring it to the council to get your view. The deputy member, as the voter, likes to listen to your views and take them to the general meeting and then listen to the debate. So neither of us are bound by your views, but we're very much influenced by it. In my opinion, the Act makes it very clear about who is eligible to vote. Therefore, 18, you have to be an Australian, and you have to live or pay property taxes in the council. Might have missed a category, but essentially it is.
Say that last sentence.
Operate a business as well. So you're entitled to run as a candidate if you don't live in the city, if you operate a business in the city. You're entitled to run as a candidate in the city if you own property in the city and pay rates, but don't live in the city. Okay? I just don't think it's appropriate for us to seek to allow elections to be fought on the basis of whether you live in the city or not. If the law allows you to run, not living in the city. If Tickery Gully wants to stop people running to live in the city, change the law, in my view. That's not what they're seeking to do. So that's why I have said I don't believe we should support this, because it's really just risky. It's enabling candidates to have a go at each other on grounds that I think are not worthy in my view. So that's to clarify your question. It's not about suppression, it's actually the opposite.
Sure.
I actually don't understand, because you have to put your address on the nomination form.
Kerry, what do you need to put on there?
An address.
An address.
Okay, I thought you couldn't use
Okay, yeah. In fact, I think on your election material you can put a PO box too.
Put on
Use
your
anybody's address. Whoever's authorised your material, which could be, whoever. Not you.
But I thought when you actually put in your application form, you had to put an address. I do know you can all your material, you can put post office box, but I thought actually when you...
You have to put an address for the Electoral Commission to get in touch with you,
Oh.
where they can rely on being able to get in touch with you. So I think that's a legal obligation. So
I can't remember the wording.
Something like that. So if they write to you to say you've done something bad, they use the address you've given them and they can rely on you receiving that notification. That doesn't mean you have to live at that address. It could be your business address, your work business address, because that's where you like getting your mail. So the law doesn't require it to be your residential address.
So you're saying we should, sorry, you're saying we should oppose it, you're suggesting this, yeah, we should oppose it, yeah.
Personally, I'm the mayor of Prospect. I live in the suburb of Prospect on Prospect Road. You can't get more obvious about where I live. I'm in the white pages, I've got the details on the website. I'm into transparency. But I know that there are mayors of councils who don't live in their cities. And that's not uncommon. And they do a fantastic job as being the mayor. Because they've got huge family connections. They own lots of property, lots of businesses. They are a big player in the future of those cities before they became a mayor. So, in my view, it's irrelevant to whether they're a good candidate or not. Sorry, Alison and then Mark.
Okay, so it's to ensure the nominated candidate's residential suburb is visible. However, I think it's going to be a catch-22 because I think, it might inhibit a lot of people from putting their hand up if they know their residential address is going to be visible. Is that what this is seeking to do?
Yes, it's more aimed at being able to attack people who don't live in the city and say, I'm better than them because I actually...
It could have the opposite effect. It could actually, people that maybe that live in the suburb, that want to put their hand up, may refrain from doing so if this is the case.
Correct.
So I think, I'm supportive, but for a different reason.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Mark? Sorry.
Look, I wanted to put out as well just to talk about it. One of the issues to me is it actually talks about the residential suburb, which is actually different to residential address.
Okay.
So there's a subtle thing there. I'm happy to disclose I use it to go box, I just press residential address. Yeah. And so I'm quite comfortable about not disclosing it. However, the suburb, I actually don't really have a problem with. I hear the debate, but I don't particularly have a problem with the suburb as opposed to residential address. And I think that there's a subtlety in that because they're not asking for residential address, they're asking for suburb, residential suburb, of which I perhaps don't prospect. So I'm not uncomfortable on the basis that it's just suburb rather than residential address. 2 cents.
It's interesting because we have 3 suburbs that we only control a part thereof.
Yeah.
Quite interesting. So,
Moment.
So you could be out of zone. You could be in the suburb, but out of zone,
yeah, that's right.
out of your city.
Anyway, just the thought I had. Any further comment on this one? Alan?
Yeah, just particularly what Alison said, and it does fit. When I first come on, and due to my job, I used to have a few problems, and had people actually break into our house and do some pretty nasty, horrible, rotten, stinking things to us. But they were racist people, and they took a stand against me. Such is life. But when I came on council, there was a big debate that was going on at that time, was the burning in the backyards, having burners burning rubbish in the backyard. And through giving my address, I did that, and until I think about a month ago, my night was been silent. I had people that started coming to my house. I had a big crazy, gawky bloke that used to come inside the house and scream at my kids and family over the rubbish burning. I had to take matters and remove him. But that was solely because he got my address off the election material. Originally started coming to ask my views of rubbish burning, because it was right when my first election was. And when he found my views, that I opposed it, he wasn't very happy with it. And he kept coming inside the house, and I had to remove. So I'm a little bit cautious, definitely what Alison said, that some people are frightened.
But see, that just says suburb. So that would be all right.
But just stay in suburb if people aren't happy about doing it. I'm not frightened myself, but I see other people being worried about it. And if it happens to be Sefton Park and it's on 2 areas, or Broadview that's in 2 areas, so be it. As long as you just say, in my case, I live in Nailsworth, it's all in our area, but say it was Sefton Park, sort of.
Well, I ask you, I'll put it to you this way. At the moment, the law allows you to run an award that you don't live in. And sometimes people contemplate those things, and sometimes that's what they do. If this went to a natural extension to say, well, it's not just the city you're in, it's actually the ward you're in, would you be happy with that level of constraint? Or it'll be, your opponents will make it a constraint. Would you be happy with that? Given that the law allows you to run from a different country. Think about that. You can run from the other side of the world at the moment. If you own a substantial amount of property and you want to have a say on council as an elected member and you're going to move back to Australia, you can actually run entirely outside the city. In fact, I think one of us here ran a campaign without actually residing in the city. So, you know, how would that affect you if you had to put down your current residential address and that was used against you? No, and you thought, and I think if you have an issue with this issue, then change the law and say that if you don't live in the city, you can't run for office in the city. That's the way you want to go. Yeah. But if you don't want to change the law, then this is just enabling you to have a tactical advantage over your competing candidates. And I'm not. I think there are better ways to go about it than just this.
If people want to find out,
You're not surprised.
A
Yeah.
question on that point about if you're living in another suburb and own property, would this prevent you from putting your property that you own Prospect down as your residential address?
Yes.
It would stop that.
Yes. Alison? I'll go for straw poll.
So more broadly, what does the local government association at this point think about this current issue? Is it something that I can ask that one? So I mean, I'm for equity. I'm for more people sticking their hand up that are connected to their community and having councils representative of their community. What policy would best enable that? To prevent more people from outside and more business owners and landlords, or to have people actually residing in that?
Sorry, I'm listening to the question. I'm just reading the report, which is in the full version of the agenda, which you can get off the LGA website. And the staff's response at the LGA is there are eligibility criteria for candidates. If the candidate meets the threshold requirements for eligibility, the candidate's residential suburb should be irrelevant. And secondly, if the intention of this motion is to exclude non-resident candidates from standing for office, then the Act would need to be amended specifically to achieve that outcome.
Right.
In other words, focus on the rights.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, gotcha.
so if you're somebody who has a future, say, prospect, that you live somewhere else, I mean, you are legally entitled to run for what difference?
Yes.
Where your residential suburb is, you fit the criteria for what difference?
To your eligibility? No.
No, exactly. So,
Can I just ask in the context of 8.8 what an absentee property owner is? So we're supporting...
That is someone who owns property but doesn't live in that property, but is entitled to a vote because they are paying rates on that property. So we, in local government, you are entitled to more than one vote if you are paying rates in more than one location, more than one rateable property. So you could live in a house and you own the one next door, you get a resident vote in one, and you can apply for an absentee landlord vote in the other one.
But then relating it back to 8.6, the place where you reside is the place you're still going to disclose as your address under 8.6.
8.6 is suggesting suburb only.
Suburb.
Sure, vote, I'm going to support it. Because I know what you say that, you know, well, people use a gated, good luck. Because then you've got to show what you want. Because you might just own a little deli on the corner, live in Burnside, and your deli opens at 9 and shuts at 4, and you're gone. You know, so, and it still doesn't mean you can't get voted, you know, still doesn't mean you're not a good person. You might go to the local church, you might go to the local library, or so that's good, but then you've got to show that. But I think people should know if you live in the area or not. Not the house, that's why I'm sort of saying it's the suburb, you know, and maybe the ward, but the suburb would be good enough. And if it happens to be, say, over outside of the road and you're in Septon Park and it's half, so yeah, you live in Broadview, Septon Park, or you don't. And that I think is a crime, because some people say, you know, I want to support a person that lives there. And that's it, so they should know that person doesn't live there. So I'm actually going to support it. Might not get another number, but I'll support it.
That's right. Any other comments or?
Yeah, I've got one. It's pretty ambiguous, a candidate's residential address, or suburb. If you own multiple properties, and shouldn't it say, be a bit more specific and say sort of primary place of residence? Like it's residential address. If you've got a lot of properties, you can sort of fudge.
No, residential suburb is pretty clear. I mean, when this gets up and they go to draft the act, they might be a bit more specific.
They'll tighten it up.
The intention of the motion is clear.
It wouldn't, from my point of view, it wouldn't want it to be any more specific than suburb. From what Alan was saying, you know, it's, if you just want to keep where you live, you don't want people coming around for whatever reason, that's your business. I mean, you've got other points of contact. We have phone, we have email.
Yeah.
We don't necessarily need people having knocking on their doors like probably in the old days before you had all that. You know, people would come around and talk to you about stuff. But these days there's other ways of getting in contact with your elected members.
Couple last comments, Elton?
Does it mirror state and federal law? What does it say for state and federal members?
Don't know.
Because it would make sense if it was the same. And is there a time frame of which they have to live in the suburb?
As a candidate, they don't need to live in the area. I don't believe they need to declare that at time of nomination. Pretty hard to hide. And tactically it's used against people who don't live there. They have to fill out a register of interest just like you do, so you need to declare it on your register once you're elected.
I'm not sure, by the way.
I'm not going to support it. I guess, you know, the historic reasons more than anything. That as well, though. I mean, look, if you use me as a case in point, I mean, I didn't live in the area when I ran. I was building a property. I have a lifelong connection down in the city. You don't build a home and want to leave pretty soon. So I think it would be unfair in that instance to put in place legislation that names and shames people that don't want to run. If they want to run, it's generally because they feel they have something to contribute and something to add to the community, and good luck to them. Throughout the campaign process, whether or not they live in the area, I'm sure will come out, and that's democracy. But to the extent that we, I guess, actively put in place measures to deter people to run on the basis of the suburb they live, I think it's silly. If they've got something they can offer, that's up to them. And, you know, let the voters decide. I'm not sure we should be putting in place these stopgaps and these road measures and these holes to trip people up, when really it's meant to be a community election and, you know, may the best person win on the day.
Interestingly, in the LGA note, they talk about the need for the Local Government Elections Act to be amended to achieve the outcome.
Yeah.
This is lobbying the state government to amend that particular part of the Act. Maybe not clear enough. So it might be that a council, probably not us, will make an amendment anyway on the day, because you can actually solve that problem by amending the Act. That said, and hearing the debate, I won't or I'm not supportive of it. I'll vote how he tell me to, but I won't support of it. If it did say something along the lines of a suburb of property owned in the area, I'd be much more comfortable with that, because I think Tasman makes a point that if you own property in the council area, you should be able to put that suburb down as opposed to residential, because I think that picks up. It's more consistent with what's allowed for under the Act. And I think ultimately, again, tell us it's right, the voters decide. And we saw that. So I think we're very highly contested North Ward election, where there's lots of money and voters decided knowing exactly what was, where Taylor lives. So it's really easy as an example, but they had every choice, I should have. But yeah, so I'm down to support it, or I'm not supportive of it.
Okay, thank you. I think we had plenty of discussion. I'm going to take it as straw poll in terms of those who support the motion and therefore want the suburbs to be actively amended, so your suburb of residential address has to be noted. All those in favour of that? 2. Those who aren't supportive of that change? Well, okay, so at this stage it stays as a red. We'll move to the other items, because at the beginning of the report you'll see they're all green because they're information reports. Start getting to the interesting ones at 8.3.
Can I look at 6.8, please?
6.8, certainly. Is pension concessions update?
Yes. Okay, so the recommendation that the Ordinary General Meeting receives the report and endorses inclusion of the following policy in the LGA Policy Manual to ensure equity between council communities and generally within SA, state and federal government should... So what you're saying is within SA, state and federal government should fund concessions on council rates. Does that extend to religious organisations?
Good. I know the intent of it is around pension concessions, which is the topic, but it should be amended to make that really clear.
I would keep that.
It to be broader, I know.
I would like it to be broader, yes. If you're going to give concessions, maybe it should stay at, state and federal government level. I don't think, certainly, I have an issue with some concessions that we give, and I don't think it should be specifically for one group and not another.
I'm pretty sure if we sought clarity on that they were restricted to pension and concession card holder concessions. If you might note your views.
I'm sure he will.
You may all support that. That'll be interesting, mate. Thank you for pointing that out. I'm assuming that if it's pension and concessions, we'd green light it, and if it was all concessions, we'd still green light it. Is that the case? Anyone proceeding for that?
No, I'm happy with that.
8.3, Trans-Pacific Partnership Trade Agreement. This is a complex one. It sounds pretty hairy in that the free trade agreements appear to provide restrictions to local government. As far as I'm led to believe from the Australian Local Government Association and the other local government jurisdictions, we have assurances that they won't, that we will be excluded from these types of restrictions. Now, Mount Barker are a bit nervous about it, and they want it tightened up, and that's hence the purpose of their motion. I'm not an expert in this field. I've got it as an amber, and because I'm told it's not necessary, but I don't want to oppose it because there may be something there for us to do. Does anybody have a view around that?
My view is to oppose the whole Trans-Pacific Partnership. Totally oppose it. It is so damaging to Australian business, so damaging to Australian work people, so damaging to Australian people and to other nations. But we have an agreement that will allow an American corporation to sue our government for making decisions. So I don't know about local government. It was never one that entered my head. I find it so scary, and if you looked in my industry, you would see 2 weeks ago a same agreement we signed with China, allow them to come into the Gold Coast and build a building of $750 million with not one Australian worker on it. And that fits right into this. I see it as absolutely damaging to us, and anything to oppose it, I would oppose it.
That's all well and good, but that's not what the motion said.
Oh, well, I'm just saying I oppose anything to it. So that's my opinion of it in respect of allowing it, we shouldn't be just looking after a local government.
I understand your sentiment that might not be useful. This, for instance, asks the federal government to ensure that the TPP doesn't apply to us. So in that case, you might want to support it to stop it restricting us. That's
I support it because it's opposed to it.
I just want to get that clear in my mind as to what you.
Oh, sorry, you misunderstood me.
I'm glad I asked this question to get it clarified. Any further comment on this one?
I think we support it because it's just asking right to make sure our point of view is heard. So I think it's really important that we are loud and clear about this, that we don't just assume that the federal government will do the right thing by us. So I would like us to support this.
Anybody opposed to us supporting? No? Well, let's change that one to a green and move to, I'm going to do this by exception. So where there's green, if you don't like green, then speak up. The next one is 8.5, mandatory total fire ban, where they want the LGA to investigate that if there's a major event or a disaster somewhere, that there's a total fire ban declared everywhere.
Why are they doing that? Is there what's the background behind this one? It seems to be crushing a walnut with a sledgehammer.
Right. Yes?
Why?
Okay, so the City of Salisbury on the nomination form to put the motion up, they have stated during the recent Samson Flat bushfire that occurred, 12,500 hectares was burnt. The fire was declared a major emergency on the 3rd of January, and that major emergency ceased on the 7th of January. States. The weather was milder on 4th and 5th, in the low 30 degrees Celsius. This resulted in areas of the state not being under a fire ban, whilst the area was under fire ban. This allowed for the use of open fire heat feed, wood barbecues in open space such as reserves. There was a risk that an incident could occur which would divert resources such as SAFEOL and CFS away from the major emergency. The introduction of a mandatory total fire ban would reduce the risk of essential resources during a major emergency being redirected to preventable incidents. Okay? So someone can start a fire somewhere else, and those units have to go and deal with that.
And they're already stretched thin.
That's the intent of the information.
They've got someone's name written down their road there, because that's about exactly what I was going to say. It might not be a problem, but the real problem comes is the fires we have and the money restraints that people have. Nearly every fire we battle, and most of the other states, we battle on a shoestring. You know, they might not have the right helicopter, might not have this because of money. So I think we should be, and I can give you incidents, should do that total ban, because, since I've got a more fire bloke over here, to do that sort of total fire ban type thing, on that odd chance that they might have to use this sort of equipment where it can be used far more important in something urgent. So, and for an Australian in South Australia to say, oh gee, I'm going to have to not be able to have a barbecue for 2 days with some poor stiffs burning up in the hills, I don't think it's a big task to ask for anyone, you know, and I believe we should be here. Almost whoever wrote that is how I feel about it.
Okay. So just notice we're at 8 o'clock. The Speaker indulgence to extend the suspension meeting procedures to 8:30. All those in favour? Against is carried. Mark.
Thanks. It's probably worth noting something that the LGA has said in the papers. I'm not sure how much people think. And it's a really good point. Under the South Australian fire, and I should know this word.
Yes. You're an expert.
And emergency services act, sorry. The only person that can declare a total fire ban is the Chief Officer of the CFS. So this is kind of a good point, because you'd have to actually change the SAFEOL Act in order to make this possible. I don't think that's likely. The CFS, when they declare fire bans, take a whole lot of things into account, not just weather, but, you know, air temperature, humidity, growth, a whole range of things which I'm not an expert to talk about. But I don't think it would be for anyone else other than the Chief Officer appropriately to make that declaration. I'm supportive of it. The concept of having crew that might be somewhere else that would come and fight over here, you know, there's a whole lot of logistics associated with that. It's never as easy as it sounds. That's quite difficult. So I just think leave the experts dealing with the expert subject matter, which is enough.
That's kind of my view. So the CFS Chief Officer, could they declare a total fire ban across the state if they were worried about resources?
Well, I think, I can't speak for the Chief Fire Officer, but I would suspect that they would make a decision in the best interest of the community. and that could involve a whole lot of factors, that being one of them. I don't think it's the sole determining factor.
But I don't think there's anything preventing them from doing
There's
that.
nothing, no.
Yeah, okay, yeah. All right, so I actually concur with both views, but I suspected that there was already the power in place to do it. Any further comment on this one? No? Are you happy for the Deputy Mayor to listen to the debate on the day and make his mind up on the day? Because I think that's probably where it sits. Yep, so we'll leave that as an amber. Next one is 8.10, maintaining local public hospitals. I'm happy to listen to the debate, but I get really kind of funny about local government telling the state and federal government how to suck eggs about stuff that's entirely their jurisdiction. I don't mind having a go at them if they're imposing something on us or we want them to improve something that interacts with us. But when we stick our nose into their business, I just think that's a step too far, because I wouldn't like them doing that to us. Or when they do, we don't like it. So that's why I've got it as amber. I'd probably prefer to have it as red and say, as emotional as we are, as much as we like hospitals, someone's got to pay for them, and I just don't think it's our right as local government to make statements like this. That's just my...
I think you made it quite right. I would use it emotional. I don't think we should be playing on issues that are highly used. Nothing we can do.
Well, of course we will.
Yeah.
It's the legislative does, but it doesn't affect our funding.
So how has this come about? Is it City West Torrens has a specific...
Oh, they're probably worried about the QEH.
Right.
And I think if the City of West Torrens want to make a statement about their hospital in their area,
Should be something, yeah.
no problem.
So that should be something that they're doing as a council, working with the state
Yeah.
government, not...
What they're seeking to do is to get us to lobby to tie the hands of another level of government on an emotive level. It's not a great, haven't put up a great budget discussion here about, sorry, I've said my best. Anyone else want to comment on this? What's people's view? You happy for Mark to listen to the debate and make his mind up, or would you be happy to say, look, actually, no, we're going to vote it down because it's not our bad?
I say no.
Those who say no, vote it down. Those who want to listen to the debate and let Mark decide on the day? So let's say it's the yellow then, say the amber. Banner, so in your hands. Noting your intent.
That's the advice of my...
Again, I'm not pulling out the greens, pull them out if you want it. The next one is 9.1, review of the State Records Act. That we review the Act with the aim of achieving appropriate amendments to reflect current records management practices, taking into account advancements to communications and technological systems. I've got it as an amber, and I can't remember why, so I need to pull it up. Oh, sorry, it's because it's a late item. That's why. Earlier in the papers, if you've read them, as I know you would have covered a cover, there is an item there that says, infers, we're pretty cheesed off with people coming up with late items and expecting the meeting to try and make a decision on the spot without the supporting report from the LGA. And the way it's dealt with is clumsy but effective, that power would fall to the President to decide whether late items should be considered or not. At the moment, it's the floor of the meeting decides whether a late item will be accepted. And people are reluctant to say no. They generally say yes. And some of our worst motions, worst outcomes, have been late items that are poorly put and with no supporting report. So I've got this as an answer because, on principle, if the other one gets up where the President's given control, I probably want to say, you know what, there's another general meeting in 6 months' time. Get your act together. Get it in time so you've got a proper report and make a decent decision. Other than that, I have no philosophical objection to the subject matter, except to note that the State Records Act is already under review for exactly this purpose. So the second motion is
Yeah.
worthwhile. People are happy to leave it as an and leave it with Mark to deal with on that basis. Okay. Now that is the end of those. So I think we had one change. Is that Someone's taking some copious notes there. 8.3 was support. Trans-Pacific Partnership Trade Agreement was changed to be agreement. So if we go back to our agenda, the Local Government Association Ordinary, full stack and formal proceedings, Local Government Association Ordinary General Meeting, 1st of May, voting preferences, recommendation is on page 1024. That the Deputy Mayor notes Council's voting preferences for Local Government Association Ordinary General Meeting. Doesn't refer to a document. Okay, so what will happen is the staff will amend, show that on screen, provide it to the Deputy Mayor. You'll go along to the meeting noting your intentions. Someone happen to move that way? Councillor Harris, wish to speak to anything further?
Thank you.
Have a seconder? Councillor Stanton, wish to speak to anything further?
Thank you.
Any further debate? All those in favour? Against is carried. Thank you. Right. Now that brings us to the diary. Thank you. In the diary we have a number of events there in our fabulous fair city of Prospect. Farmers Market, of course, continuing every Thursday, Club 582, goes from strength to strength, Friday the 1st of May. And I'm sure everybody in attendance at Club 502 will be making good use of the composting and I think it's worm farm workshop the next day at the community garden. The Behind the Bullets and Barbed Wire exhibition, Sunday the 10th. National Volunteer Week event, Friday the 15th. It's always a good event. Let the staff know if you want to come along. Prospect Community Garden Morning Tea and Tour on the 16th. The footy again on the 17th of May. And the music performance out of the Square 3 stuffed mums. I think that's a typo. Right, exclamation mark. On the 22nd of May, see you all there. So that is the diary. Have we missed anything? Anyone else aware of an item coming up? No? So that's for you to know. General business. Are there any items? General business for calling for reports or items of my nature? No? I take it then there are no general business matters of urgent nature. Cool. Confidential items. Item 23.1, order to exclude community service award nominations. Recommendation of page 1047. How many people have got this in front of them? Has everyone received it okay? Right, okay.
Oh, I've got two then.
Good. So who wishes to move we go to comments? Councillor Troop, wish to speak to it all? We've got a seconder. Councillor Lee, wish to speak to it? Any further debate? All those in favour? Against? Carried. Okay, so if you're not named in that item there, if you're able to leave the room now, that would be super. Thank you for coming. Thanks for your interest. Look forward to seeing lots of coverage in the next messenger about great things in Prospect. Prospect